Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. It is Star Raptor and Ben for another episode of Outer Rim Transmission. This is transmission number 28. This week, we're talking all about Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales, a new Lego special on Disney Plus. Plus, we have another Disney Plus release of Galaxy of Sound, this really cool look at Star Wars through specific focus of the sound effects and different things related to the sound. Plus, we're going to cover some news related to Book of Boba Fett, so stay tuned for all that. How's it going, Ben?
Good, good. Just another good week here in Northwest Ohio. Beautiful weather out. I love this. I love the fall. It's awesome. So that's always nice, and just a great way to start the week.
Oh, yeah. It's the first, second week of October. Really nice, especially out here on the East Coast in New Jersey. It's been really nice, and as this releases, I will currently be at New York Comic Con. So hey, if you guys see me around there, go say hi. Or if you're listening to this on audio, well, it's already passed. But we released this on Friday, so we're doing some editing, mumbo jumbo stuff. So you're like, how's he recording right now? He's supposed to be there. No, that's because we're just bending the rules. We're actually, a peek behind the curtain. We're actually recording this a few days before that. So some of this news might be old news a little bit, but we are going to dive in because we didn't have a chance because last week we did our big final discussion for Visions. And now that that is behind us, we got even more stuff that's new in Star Wars. But just break it into our week in Star Wars. I'm struggling to come up with one. Every week I have something to come up with. Granted, it's only been like 2 or 3 days since we last recorded an episode in real time, so there hasn't been a whole lot. I can guarantee you I have a lot to talk about next week after a convention. But going into the actual convention itself, I haven't really done a whole lot. I mean, other than like Milton was speaking about last episode about, talking to the coworkers about Star Wars and different things like that, and chatting with more people about Star Wars Visions, my coworkers, and how certain episodes were great for them and certain episodes not so great. But we're speaking civilly, not like we see online. So that's the main thing. Is like, hey, if everybody would speak face to face, like not on Twitter, it's usually pretty civil. It's just, people like to just be ever omnipresent and whatnot and powerful online. So that's my week in Star Wars is, hey, having civil discussions about things we might disagree or agree on in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a really important factor when it comes to Star Wars or any of these franchises we really love. Like, it's great to be critical about these topics. If you want to be critical, positively, negatively, neutral, whatever, but do it in a civil way. And also remember, everybody has their right to critique this franchise as much as you do. Like, what makes you or me or the next person special? Like, we're all just fans of the franchise. We're not on any higher status than any other fan. So it just makes sense. Like, let people have their opinions. And, it's fun to have, to me, it's fun to have debates and talk about things in a civil way. Like, for the longest time, I love this show, like ESPN First Take or Undisputed on Fox Sports. Like, those are debate format sports shows. And, before every show, they kick off the shows, both the hosts always shake hands and are like, hey, let's have at it. And, they have a good debate
Wow.
throughout the show, but it's not, it's not hostile. It's debate with, different critical critique points, but everyone's still friends at the end of the day. And, a lot of fans of these franchises need to remember that we're still in the same fandom here. Like, we're still all rooting for the same thing. We just got to remember that sometimes.
That is so true, but I'm gonna have to check that show out. It seems like it must get kind of fiery that the fact that they're shaking hands beforehand.
Oh yeah, they definitely do. So yeah, that's kind of what happens on those shows. And then, for my week in Star Wars, I guess it was more of my weekend in Star Wars since we only last were on air, 3 days ago. So I didn't really have anything too crazy happen. But one thing I'm fairly certain about, as I always joke around on here, we're all sports fans here. So watching Monday Night Football last night, spoiler, we're recording this on Tuesday, but watching Monday Night Football last night, I just kept thinking to myself, man, please be a Boba Fett trailer at halftime. Please be a Boba Fett trailer at halftime. Of course, there wasn't. So, to me, the countdown clock is ticking. I think we will be getting a Boba trailer on one of these upcoming Monday Night Footballs, potentially next week or the week after. And if it's not within the next 2 weeks, I would say,
Then
I
they're
think they're
holding
going
up.
to just hold it off till the Disney Plus day on November 12th. So, it kind of had those thoughts through the game, but also just another fun thing for like fans of Monday Night Football. I haven't looked into it yet, but I am fairly certain the former 49ers Hall of Fame quarterback on there, Steve Young, he has to be a Star Wars fan. He has to be because all of his analogies he uses, he literally talks about like the quarterbacks using Jedi mind tricks and the Force and this and that. Like, he uses all these Star Wars comparisons in his sports descriptions, and I'm like, dude, he's the only sports anchor like that really uses like Star Wars references like that in his sports analysis. It's like he has to be a Star Wars fan to some degree, for him using that on air on Monday Night Football like that every week. He's done that since Monday Night Football started this year, and that's how he was even, in prior years. He's been with ESPN forever, but he always references like Star Wars and stuff like that, which is pretty cool, coming from like the NFL's perspective.
Yeah, what channel is he usually on?
Just ESPN, like Monday Night Football. It's always like the Monday
Makes
Night Football, like the pregame show on Monday night from 6 to 8 p.m. on ESPN, and like I said, he always will like make references like, oh, the quarterback's reading the defense, like a Jedi mind trick or whatever, and stuff like that, and like I said, to me, that just like screams he like for him using references like that so consistently, like you got to be some type of a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, and of course, because Disney's owning ESPN, so of course that's the channel you're gonna have a lot of Star Wars puns and
Yep,
references on. So,
yep.
but that is pretty cool though. Like being able to actually, commentate and relate to Star Wars is certainly something that requires a lot of skill. Being able to know what you're talking about and applying something else out of a different universe is I mean, I wish I was that witty to be able to have those kind of conversations in my everyday life, but it usually doesn't come to me till later. So after the
Yeah.
conversation, oh, I could have said this,
Oh yeah, well no, that's how like even like Steve Young, they were on the pregame show last night, they were talking about the big New England Patriots and Tampa Bay Buccaneers games on Sunday Night Football the prior night. He was like, "Oh, I'm sure Bill Belichick went into that game, the Patriots head coach, Bill Belichick went into that game, wanting to set up his defense, like the Sith would use it to, have a mind trick on Tom Brady and stuff." So, just like little references like that. It's great hearing someone like of note talk like that.
I'm very curious. I wonder if somebody's like compiled a YouTube playlist or video of him saying these sorts of references because I would like to see that in that context.
Yeah, it's funny because I always get a kick out of it. And like I said, every week I'm like, man, him talking Star Wars like that, I just want him to say, oh, and a Mandalorian or a Boba trailer coming up next. Like,
Hey, maybe we'll get him to be a guest on the show one day, and we'll have him just
that would
like
be wild.
pick his brain about how he's going to have a reference to this or that or whatever.
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh man, so moving into this week's releases, we do have a book that comes out, and this is a young reader, and it's in the High Republic, and it is called Showdown at the Fair. So it's going to be similar to that first young reader that came out called The Great Jedi Rescue when it came out with the first wave of the High Republic books back in January. This is basically just a retelling of the events of the Rising Storm from Cavan Scott, but just for the younglings, because that book is extremely dark. Like I mentioned a couple months ago, like it's like Cavan Scott basically pulled a Game of Thrones on the Star Wars universe with that book because there's a lot of death, just a lot of grim darkness, and so yeah, I'm very curious to see how he's actually going to. Let's see, the writer of this book, it isn't Cavan Scott, is going to be able to actually piece together a coherent story that tells the wider breadth of the story without being too dark for the kiddies. So we got that coming out. We also have the High Republic Adventures issue number 9. as well as Ghost of Vader's Castle #3. So that series is releasing weekly, and it's going to very much relate to our main topic of the story with Terrifying Tales, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But getting into our first official story, and this is something we mentioned last week, but I did want to elaborate more on. This is officially from StarWars.com. Book of Boba Fett will release on December 29th, and we got the official poster. Let's talk about the poster first. What was your initial reaction to the poster there, Ben?
The initial reaction for the poster, I would say I was surprised they even released it. I mean, of course, you know what was coming and everything, but I was surprised they just kind of just dropped it. Like all of a sudden, one of my good friends, he texted me the picture and was like, "Dude, look at this," and I was like, "What in the world?" And when I saw the poster at first, I didn't even realize, I didn't even see the release date. I was so excited when I saw it. I was like, "Holy smokes! I cannot believe they released the poster for it." And then just like the imagery itself, I really, I thought it was good. It is interesting if you didn't notice either. Boba's armor looks like it's back to being kind of damaged or scuffed up again,
Hmm.
or not as new. So that's interesting. It's either, to me, that's either it's going to be flashbacky, or it'll be it's just signifying that he's going to be in some type of altercation, which I'm sure he's going to be, just because they're not just going to sit around for this series. So we have that, and then also one thing, like the way Boba's looking in the poster, just I don't know, the way like the light or whatever's hitting kind of his helmet, like to me, is that like signifying he's looking at something or someone of note? Like, is that from a potential scene of note? So that's what I'm interested to see where that scene takes place.
Yeah, because this is, I mean, it's a cool poster, but I was hoping for something a little bit more revealing, right? And the same thing, and we'll talk about the official synopsis that they have on the website here for StarWars.com. But yeah, I mean, okay, cool. Like, he's on Jabba's throne. This is not like any revelation, right? It's not a character poster like we've got for theatrical, where it shows like 10 different characters, maybe a new ship or something. There's not really a whole lot to honestly decipher from this trailer other than, oh, it's got a release date now. It just could have easily been done like a fan poster. Like your friend could have sent you this and you would have been like, oh, that's a cool fan poster, man. Because like we already know this. Like we already know he's been
Yeah.
sitting on the throne in that same manner at the end of season two. But like this is fine. Like okay, yeah, it's like Boba Fett is in charge of the underworld. That's what I get from this. Like, yeah, he's going to be the one that's running the show. Like he is the kingpin of crime, essentially, of the underworld, and he's sitting in that manner where he looks like he's very confident and very comfortable with where he is right now. And you mentioned about the way that the sun is glinting off his armor. Maybe there's somebody like just outside of our perspective here looking at
Yep.
him. Yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, that's curious. Like, who would he be in this relaxed state to kind of stare down through his helmet, you know?
Yep. I think after like all of the different like speculative and like the different potential leaks and things out there, like that won't be any of the big characters we talked about. I would say like Cad Bane or anybody like that. I think if anybody who it'll either be man, I was Fennec Shand. It'll be either Fennec possibly, or maybe it's like Boba. I don't know, like we're really digging deep on a poster, but maybe it's Boba just like reminiscing or something, like thinking about when I got thrown into the Sarlacc or something. I don't know, something like that. And maybe that's when it flashes back.
Yeah, we're gonna have so much flashing back, going forward, and going back. So let's talk about the initial kind of synopsis, if you will, that they have, the little blurb that they have about the Book of Boba Fett. So I'm reading again straight from StarWars.com. The Book of Boba Fett, a thrilling Star Wars adventure, finds legendary bounty hunter Boba Fett and mercenary Fennec Shand navigating the galaxy's underworld when they return to the sands of Tatooine to stake their claim on a territory once ruled by Jabba the Hutt and his crime syndicate. So again, like we kind of seen this all play out already. This would have been more of a shocker if we didn't see that end credit scene, and they're just like, yo, cool. So we already get the backdrop, but I mean, it's cool seeing like Jabba the Hutt's name, right? That's been a big thing for the fan community for several years. Like, yeah, we go in between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, but like, what happened to the underworld? Like there's big things. I think a lot of times people focus more on the Emperor and Darth Vader, as they should when they're talking about like the aftermath of like what happens with the Empire and everything. But really, the beginning of that movie, it's like what the hell's happening with the underworld? Because Jabba's the one in charge essentially of all these different criminal syndicates kind of bow to him. So that's almost even just as interesting for me is like what happens with these different organizations, like the lawlessness that must break out. Like when you have a power vacuum of that size, like who's going to try to get in there, So seeing like that, that name Jabba the Hutt in this official synopsis and talking about specifically a crime syndicate just gets me really happy because this is the series I've kind of always wanted, but didn't know I needed.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it just begs the question, who's the leader of the potential like syndicates, like rivaling syndicates out there? Like that's another big question when it comes to this show is we're going to be like so it's presumably it's 8 episodes. So at least two of those episodes, like one of the first episode's the intro episode. You can say, throw that out. Then you have the finale, throw that out. So that leaves about 6 episodes to go. And to me, at least two of the 6 episodes have to be almost no name crime criminals, no like no name criminals, just because you know I don't think they're going to have like a big cameo all 8 episodes. So I think I think there's a good chance Boba's going to deal with some like low level criminal lords, underlords, and stuff like that. And then it's going to transition more. It's like the video game references. Like it's like working your way up like the boss level. So like I feel like after the opener, you're going to have like 2 episodes, like episodes 2 and 3 potentially, basically just no name criminal crime lords, and then that'll start transitioning to like bigger characters like potentially Bosk and Cad Bane and people like that versus just no name people, because I don't think there's any way we get to the finale. Like the finale is not going to be a no name criminal underlord. Like it'll be someone big. So I think it's just going to be a transition like that from like low level crime lords up to the boss basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And looking again at the synopsis, the key phrase that I've been looking at over the last minute or so is, staking their claim on a territory once ruled. Like, so it's in flux. Like they're staking their claim. So who else is trying to stake their claim, right? Who else is trying to be the king of the underworld, right? If I'm going through right now in my head, I'm thinking of a couple things right off the bat is all the other huts, right? We're reading War of the Bounty Hunters. That's an ongoing series. It's going to finish up this month. But right there, we can go through each one of those factions that's represented in that, and those factions probably will still exist by this time. So we got the huts, right? Jabba wasn't the only hut. You have huts like Boku the Hut, is a couple other huts. Whether or not they survive through this War of the Bounty Hunters, only next week will tell us that. But definitely the huts are going to be involved in that for sure. There's a hut council. There's a hut council during that time in that era. So I don't know if that still exists at that time or what's going on. We also have the Black Sun. They're ruled by Lord Gyuti. It's like Gyuti, who's like basically their new version of Zizor. I'm still pulling for Zizor, and in fact, it would be amazing if Zizor actually maybe takes out Gyuti and becomes like the heir of the Black Sun in this or something like that. That'd be pretty sweet, right? So then you have them, Black Sun. You got them. You also have Crimson Dawn. Obviously, that's like the biggest one, right? Like people now with that being in like the forefront of the fandom and the comics represented, them making a big comeback in between Empire and Return of the Jedi there. After being dormant for so long, they're the new hot one out there. They're going to be going all around doing their thing. You got some other minor ones, like you said. maybe some minor ones like the Mourner's Wail or the Unbroken Clan as represented in the Bounty Hunter comic series. Heck, throw in there the Crymora Syndicate. They are always mentioned, and I mentioned this on Twitter, like, or in a Facebook group a couple weeks back. Like, what the heck are the Crymora? I see them written into books and stuff. We've never really seen who they are. Throw the Pikes in there, right? The Pikes would be a big thing to throw in there. Heck, like maybe have some offshoots of some Mandalorians trying to be like an underworld. Like, we've seen obviously when they had the syndicate that Maul made up, right? They had like some of the Death Watch, some of his like kind of Mandalorians, which were underworld. So, I mean, right off the bat, there's several right there that they could pick from. Some minor ones like the Sun Tool Pride, they would be a nice like entry level one. I feel like they would be something that Boba could deal with. These are really like getting in the weeds, by the way, when I'm talking about these comics, because there are just so many.
Well,
Heck, they could throw the droid Gatra, the droid Gatra in there from Last Shot. So there.
well, well. My question for you on that is, so to frame it, let's just for all intents and purposes, let's just say it is going to go in the format of like entry level to boss level. Are there any entry level crime syndicates that connect to any of our like known mid to boss level characters
Hmm.
other than Crimson Dawn?
Well, like I said, they're not well-known characters. Put it that way.
Hmm.
Like they're just like some random offshoot characters. They're
Oh,
not.
okay. So it's really in the weeds then. So
Oh
it could be a
yeah,
coin flip.
yeah. They could just make any new character to be like a leader of any of those that I just mentioned, and it'd be
Oh, okay.
fine. Yeah.
That's interesting. It's going to be, I feel like we're going to go in that type of a direction because what else? I mean, that's the synopsis of the show. Like, so we're going to have to deal with crime syndicates, and I don't think they're going to hit us with Cad Bane in episode one, um, or Bosk or anybody like that. So, I think it's going to go in that direction, and it just all comes down to execution. But I do think at the end of the day, when we do get to the finale or the penultimate episode, I think there's a chance that we're going to be getting a transition or steering of the ship away from that potentially to the overall big overarching Mandoverse, like wider galaxy implications, like connecting to Mando and Ahsoka and Thrawn and all that stuff. Like I think there's a chance the show is going to shift in that direction because you have the rebels with they're clearly working on patrolling like wild space and different things like that in Mando, and then you have the Empire trying to lay their stakes wherever they are, and then you have Thrawn building up his stuff potentially wherever it may be because that the lower level that commander Ahsoka was interrogating, like she was potentially like a leader of a fleet or something.
Hmm.
So, you have those characters. So that's three potential people laying claim. And then you have the whole crime underworld. And all of this stuff is going to connect just because, if you're going to be rebuilding the entire crime underworld, it's going to bump into the other factions
Oh yeah.
trying to take over the galaxy. So I think by the end of season one, we're going to start transitioning more toward connecting to the greater universe. But I think the first 6 episodes at least, let's just say there's 8 episodes. I think the first six at least are all going to be just grounded to Boba Fett related, crime syndicate related, and that's it. And then it'll transition like say the end of the seventh episode, it'll start to transition over to like the wider galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're gonna have is kind of like a MCU sort of like after credit scene in every going forward series that's connected to Mando. We had the after
Yep.
credit for Book of Boba Fett, so now we're gonna get an after credit. I can almost guarantee you, hopefully, in for Mando season 3, right? Because like the Book of Boba Fett like teaser thing was like not really connected at all to anything that just had happened in Mando, right? It's like, oh, those are
Yep.
characters we know, but this plot line has nothing to do. So I could see like maybe they show us Mandalore, right? Like, wouldn't that be a cool thing to go off on? Like they show us like Mandalore and like the fleets and like Mando and like Bo-Katan are like staring out through like the bridge viewport like at all the ships and they're like, well, it's time to get to work or something like that. And that's like the end. And then it says, stay tuned for season 3 of Mando, holiday 2022. You know?
Yep. Well, see, I have a theory on that. Is I think there's a good chance. So either Mandalore is controlled by the Empire, and that's purely based on Boba and Bo-Katan's conversation in Mando season 2. Just because Bo-Katan says don't believe all the stories you hear, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
So I think there's a chance though. I think we might get to the end of Boba season 1, and maybe Fennec, I don't know, goes out on some type of a mission, finds out Mandalore is actually controlled by a crime set. Who knows? What if Mandalore is controlled by Cad Bane? Throw that out there. Wow. Um, but what if it's controlled by a crime syndicate and Boba's like, hey, to have the ultimate power over the Mandalorians and the criminal underworld, my next target's going to be Mandalore, and like or something along those lines. Like that's how season one's going to end. Like
Mm.
maybe that's how it'll connect. Then we'll get kind of maybe the side by side view of it. So like maybe Mando season 3 is kind of starting when Book of Boba season 1 starts. Like if you're like in real time. So by the end of Mando season 3, you'll get to present day where Book of Boba Fett season 1 ends or something. And maybe that's how they'll all bump into each other on Mandalore.
Hmm.
Maybe something
Cool
like that.
theory.
I don't
Cool
I don't know.
theory. I'm thinking that, the if we read the War of the Bounty Hunter comics, like you have the Empire that's mingling with all the underworld. Like that's how it's always worked. Like the Empire's always had kind of a symbiotic relationship with the underworld. So what happens like if at least the ending of this like connects with Crimson Dawn,
Yep.
and then and Boba finds out like through like finding files or something in Crimson Dawn, like like you get to figure out like what the Empire's like really up to. And then like
Yep.
Boba Fett finds out this information through like Crimson Dawn's intel, like what their like next plans are that involve Thrawn or involve some top secret project. Then Boba's got to call in Mando, and that's like where we might have like one episode. Because I remember in the past there was reports right about like Mando being in one of the episodes or something like that, right? I thought
Yep.
I heard something through the grapevine about that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I
There
think
was
what's
there was
gonna happen,
definitely
yeah,
reports of that.
yeah. So I think Mando Boba's gonna like, hey, reach out to his old buddy. Hey, we heard some stuff about the Empire. Here's some information for you guys. Yeah, you might want to give this to your New Republic buddies and go check this out. So I think there could be like the connection could be like something as simple as that, like through the crime syndicates, they find out what the Empire's up to, and that's where it leads into season 3 of Mando.
Yep. I think we can go along that line potentially. I still think there's a solid chance. Hey, I mean, what if I mean now we're really getting into the whole
Oh
what if
yeah.
series. Um, but what if we get a situation where some of these crime syndicates are find out how valuable Grogu is, and Boba has to be kind of like he becomes the anti-hero and he takes out some of these crime syndicates, also gaining power in the criminal underworld, but also uh, in a offhand way protecting Grogu like he said he was going to do in the in Mando season 2,
Hmm. Could be
because
interesting.
that can like help develop his anti-hero ness.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know. Like I think there's a potential for that. I do feel like I don't know. I just have a feeling we're going to get a mention of Grogu one way or another, or something hinting at him, something foreshadowing. Because to me, Holiday 2022 is too far for no mention of Grogu whatsoever. Like, I don't. I think that's a long way away for that potentially, and just pure like marketing, merchandising, and all of that sort of stuff.
I feel like it could just be an a side, real quick comment. Boba
Yeah.
Fett is with Mando. Hey, how's the kid? And he
Yep.
might just say some expositional line like, oh, he's just with that old kooky space wizard doing their thing out of some foreign place in the galaxy. Like it could be some real quick throwaway line, but like everybody's gonna sit up in their seat like this and be like, "Oh, Grogu, where?" So
Yeah.
I could
Hey,
think,
here's one to throw out to you. Man, we're really getting into the theory side of things here. Um, yeah, what if he ends up meet up with Mando, has that conversation, and after Den ends up leaving, what if Boba goes back and is talking to Fennec Shan is like, oh, I didn't realize that Jedi that was against me is still alive, and
huh?
we get like maybe Boba being interested in looking into Luke or something. Like I don't know, there has to be to me, whether it be Luke or Grogu or Mando or whatever, Thrawn maybe, like man, that would be a wild way to end season one of Boba. Have Thrawn somehow giving a transmission to Boba for something, like
Oh my
I'm needing
gosh.
your services or whatever. But like I just think the way the show's gonna go, you have to have some type of big boom like finale because Boba, they've already set the precedent so high with that character's introduction. Like you're gonna have to keep going with it, and then even just in the Mandoverse itself, Mando season one and two, end of season one, a real big boom. End of season two, of course, a big boom. Like we're gonna have to have something that really knocks it out of the park for the end of the show, and I think it's gonna be something connecting to the greater Mandoverse.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have this be a complete spin-off. I mean, it's gonna rumors are reporting that they're gonna continue the numbering of the chapters right from season 2 of Mando, even though it's not titled Mando. You're gonna get chapter 17, 18, yada yada yada, right? So obviously it can't be too standalone-ish, if I could use that as a word, because it's going to be connected to the wider galaxy. Let's talk about the date. So, we kind of knew it was going to be in December, but I didn't expect it to be this late in December. But then when I took a closer look, it kind of makes sense why Disney's doing this because if Hawkeye starts, it is starting at the end of November. If it is 6 episodes, which I heard that was the non-official number, that it would end literally the same day that Book of Boba Fett's going to begin. So it's kind of a brilliant move by Disney to be like, oh, well, this series you really liked is ending. Well, guess what? There's a brand new series starting up today. They're a streaming service. They have to keep their subscriber numbers up. So it's like they need to have that constant flow of content. And, we've been wondering if there's going to be any overlap. I think there's no doubt, without a doubt, there's going to be a lot of overlap next year. But at least until then, they're going to have these kind of do that. Because, like, look at next year, we're going to have like Marvel shows coming out on the same day as Star Wars shows. There's no way there's enough weeks in the year to have those two things separate, especially considering there's going to be what, like 4 or 5 different Star Wars series next year on top of the 4 or 5 Marvel series. Logically, that cannot work. So that's going to happen eventually. But what are your initial takes on the date overall?
My first thought, I was like, well, so it's basically coming out in 2022. Um, because I was just like, man, like I know, I just subconsciously knew it was going to be late December because I mean, look what they did to us with Mando. They're like, oh, it's coming out in November, and then it was like November 27th or something.
But then it
You
came out in
know,
October the year later, though.
yeah, yeah, and then the year later it came out October. So it was just like, okay, so I had a feeling it was going to be kind of late, but just looking, so I have my calendar up right now on my phone. It's like December 29th. Of course, every day's a Wednesday. So you're looking at all of January and then 3 weeks into February. And then the thing about that is, so we'll have Star Wars celebrations in May, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, we have potentially, a few months, basically March, April. So you basically do you know when Star Wars celebration is? Like the date?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
All right.
Oh, it's Memorial Day weekend, so it's like the 20 something in
Oh,
May.
okay. 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 So okay, that's good enough. So basically, that's 10 weeks between the end of Book of Boba and Star Wars Celebration.
Oh.
So to me, the thing is, I think there's a chance that actually, Bad Batch season 2 might be in that time slot
I think so.
because I think they're going to chop the episodes from 16 to 12. And
Oh,
I think there's a chance Bad Batch season 2 is going to be in that slot. And then there's, as of today, or well, yesterday and today, Jordan Mason from Cinelinx was talking about different things. He's hearing, Kenobi's going to be in the month of May 2022, potentially May the 4th. So let's just say that is true. So then we have Kenobi until the second week of June. And then don't forget, we have 12 episodes of Cassian coming out. So that would be, just say even they take a break, say if they take a few weeks off, then you have all of July, August, September, or if they even push it back a little bit, you could do August, September, October, take a month off, November, and then you have the holiday special in November, like you did with Lego, do another Lego holiday special, and then you have Mando season 3 in December. So you have literally like 40-ish weeks potentially of Star Wars content alone. That's not including any, like you said, any of the Marvel stuff or anything like that. Like that is just purely Star Wars. It's like approximately 40 to 44 weeks, if not more, of Star Wars, give or take. And that's not including any of like the Lego specials very much or anything like that, or random documentaries. Because with Book of Boba and Kenobi and Andor and well, Mando's would be in 2023, but Book of Boba, Kenobi, and Andor, those shows are all presumably going to have a behind the scenes
mhm.
once they come out. So that means those are even more time slots. So we're probably going to have in total, if you add everything up for 2022, probably anywhere between 48 to 52 weeks of Star Wars content.
Whoa.
And that's on a rough estimate. That's not even being, that's being kind of conservative with things. I mean
Wow.
that's with me presuming the Bad Batch is only going to be 10 to 12 episodes. If it's 16, we're going to have literally like 54 weeks of content.
We're gonna have overlap then if Bad Batch is gonna be that long. I don't think they can just wait for that to be over because then other stuff is gonna go into 2023 at that rate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this could be the year where we have an animated show come out the same day as a live action show.
Yep.
Whoa, is that going to be one hell of a week here on Outer Rim Transmission? Can you imagine that? Trying to break down like two big episodes of two different kind of Star Wars projects. It's like, wow, guys, this is
Yeah.
going to be nuts.
2022 is the year of Star Wars. Like right now, it is kind of a down time of Star Wars. Like it's kind of slow. But things are going to start getting built up. We're going to be getting the Boba trailer soon enough in the next few weeks or so. So we'll get that, and then we'll get the Boba documentary that's coming out,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll talk about, and that'll just we'll be able to carry that hype into the Book of Boba Fett at the end of December, and then of course it's not Star Wars, but a lot of the people that are into Star Wars likes Marvel, so we have Hawkeye to hold us over
Mm-hmm.
until Book of Boba comes out. So like, there's endless amounts of content in terms of different things to watch for fans of Star Wars and like the related franchises. And I'm super excited for it just because it's literally almost limitless, like how many pieces of content we're getting on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we have all this, and yeah, I don't know. I just think I'm thinking more and more, and now, like I said, with like Jordan Mason kind of talking about it, I think the Kenobi show, if it does come out in May, that is going to like blow the doors off of like Star Wars Celebration,
Oh,
um,
man.
because they'll have some type of a big panel for it and stuff. Um,
Yeah. I'm looking
so
at the calendar. Hold on, give me a second here. We can
you're
keep
good.
talking, but I'm looking at. I believe it's Thursday the 26th through the 30th. I think that's the day.
Yep, I think there's a chance too. If it's not May the 4th, I think there's a chance. Like don't get me wrong, Jordan Mason is pretty solid on his info, but I think there's a chance maybe maybe whoever his source is just presuming May the 4th because it's Star Wars Day. But I think to me, I personally am leaning toward, I think they're going to start. Okay, so this is my overall theory for like Kenobi. I think when you guys go to Star Wars Celebration, they're going to do exactly what they did with Mando season 1. They're going to show you like an 8-minute scene from Kenobi, and then whenever Star Wars Celebration is over, like on the 31st, maybe the following, so maybe it'll be the first week of June.
Yeah.
Maybe the first week of June they'll be like, "Hey guys, when you get back from Star Wars Celebration, boom, be ready. Kenobi's coming." Like
No.
I think I think that's personally how it's going to be. Um, I think we're going to be in that line of thinking. So maybe if that does happen, Kenobi will be all of June, first 2 weeks of July, take a couple weeks off, then Andor for 12 weeks, and then boom, we're at Mando. Like
Yeah.
I
I
think,
mean, not bad logic there. I just don't think that they bring this cast to Celebration. They don't at least show the people like maybe 4 or 5 days early there,
yep,
the first episode. I think without a doubt, if they're gonna hold this back, they gotta show us that episode, and it's gonna be so damn viral over the internet. All these people on Twitter are gonna be like posting videos of them like having reviews walking out of the viewing like this is the best thing Star Wars ever. You know, like you know how the recency bias is. This is the best thing Star Wars ever, and it's gonna drive the hype for this show. Like people are gonna subscribe to Disney Plus like that day because they're like, all these people at Celebration seen this thing. And it's like the word of mouth through the hype, you know, it's just gonna go
yep,
crazy. So I think yeah, it'll show it at Celebration, and then that following Wednesday, like the rest of everybody will get it, you know, will get it. But or who
yep.
knows? Maybe it could be longer. Maybe they want the hype to go longer with the people that watch. I don't know, but
Well, also I'm just kind of thinking too about that. Or if Kenobi comes out early May before Celebration, maybe you guys get the first episode of Andor a month in advance or something, or 2 months in advance. Like, maybe that. Maybe they want to give you an exclusive look at Andor potentially. Like, there's that. I mean, we'll get into that like in future episodes and things like figuring out all these dates and whatnot. I just can't wait. I don't know. Whenever we get to the first Boba Fett episode is what I'm so excited for. Or even the first Boba Fett trailer, just to give us sure. I'll just say it. The synopsis was kind of just, we already knew that.
yes,
So we already knew that. So to me, it's like big whoop. Like I could have wrote that synopsis without even looking at. I could have wrote a better synopsis than what they gave us. So to me, I think what I'm most excited for coming up, anyways, is the Book of Boba Fett trailer when it does come out, just because, presumably that'll probably be about 2 minutes long, maybe 2.5. So it'll definitely give us some type of context. So, I'm sure it'll like break the internet when it comes out because people will be
yeah,
going crazy over it.
oh
So
yeah,
that's what I'm super hyped up about.
yeah.
It just still at the end of the day, like to wrap up like this date discussion, I wish Book of Boba Fett was early December. Like I wish it was the week prior, just because we were talking about like maybe they're gonna do it for Christmas. Be like, hey, December 22nd is the Wednesday before. Be like, hey, since everybody's home with their families and stuff, boom, Book of Boba Fett. But I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of people will have that time off anyways.
Yeah, it's in between New Year's and all that. People always have off that week. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, people have off, but to me, it's just like, man, I wish it was earlier. I wish it was tomorrow. um, but yeah, I don't know. It's exciting either way. The good thing is, to finally wrap this up, the good thing is, Star Wars, as I've always said, Star Wars is like that girl you go on a date with who doesn't really want to be in a committed relationship and they never want to commit to anything. Now that they actually put a date to it and committed on it, like they're putting a ring on it, they're like, hey, this is when it's coming out, so be ready. Like, so they can't change the date. I mean, I guess they could change the date, but then people will go crazy. So, they can't change the date. So it's like, hey, it's cemented. Book of Boba Fett, December 29th, be there.
Pretty much, pretty much. So, yeah, we really got into the weeds on that Book of Boba Fett discussion, didn't we? We're just so excited about it. We don't really know anything about it. So, hey, if they don't want to give us anything, any concrete information, we'll spend the time just speculating because, well, we're Star Wars fans and that's what we do. Going
Oh
back
yeah.
to out this week, I did want to mention, I wanted to give credit where credit is due. I didn't know at the time who the author was for Showdown at the Fair. Correction, I did know, I just couldn't remember his name. And it is, in fact, the author is for this. Looking it up, hold on, I just lost my train. George Mann. George Mann is the author of Showdown at the Fair. So he's a great author in Star Wars too. He's written Myths and Fables and the recent holiday special book, Life Day Treasury. Treasury. So be prepared to be on the lookout for that. But anyway, getting into the next story, this is a big one as well. Getting another date, but this time for a Star Wars hotel. We got our official date, March 1st, 2022 is the opening date for Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. And reservations go live October 28th. So, right around the corner, if you guys have been saving up all your cash, because it's gonna need a lot of cash to go to this thing. Then you're gonna be in luck there, or hopefully you're in luck because I can't imagine the chaos that will ensue on October 28th. Reading through the official posting in this article, this should interest us Star Wars fans that maybe don't have several $1,000s to go to this thing. They're saying that, some Disney and Star Wars fans, including Disney Vacation Club members, Disney Pass holders, and Disney Visa card members, should be on the lookout in the upcoming weeks for a special booking opportunity just for you. So,
Hmm.
that's literally the only thing we know, but I'm at least over here keeping my fingers crossed that they do something for the fan. Now, what are they going to do? Like, are they going to validate us as Star Wars fans? Like, if you guys, take this 20 question quiz, we know you're like hardcore Star Wars fans, then you can get a chance for half price admission or something. They will not do that, but I don't know how they're going to select these people. Like, of course I'm a Star Wars fan or whatever. Like, I'm interested to see how that works.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. So I just pulled my calendar back up. So just looking at it, October 28th, I think the Boba Fett trailer is coming that week because now this is sure, this is only a few weeks out before that Disney day. But my thing is, I think the Boba trailer is going to come that week because Star Wars will release the Boba trailer, get everybody on this big hype train. Woo, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, like even more than they normally would. And then, oh, hey guys, this Galactic Cruiser thing's coming out. You can book your trip there. I think that's actually when our Book of Boba Fett trailer is going to be coming, is that week. Just looking at the dates.
I just feel like that's way too
See,
close to the Disney Plus day. Like, why would they not just wait at that
I don't
point?
know. See, I think there's a chance it might be coming out there, but I do think the like the Star Wars perks thing that you're mentioning, I think that's like creative. To me, that's creative marketing. Just because it's a good way to get people in the door even more than what they normally would be.
Uh-huh.
So so I think that's just a really good creative way to get people in the door. Because at the end of the day, they want you to open your wallet, and that's a good way to do it. Like, really make it feel like, you know what I'm saying, like to make it feel more special, like you're more special as a customer because you're a Star Wars fan. So like, I think that's good, and it is good. Like if you would get like the discount and stuff like that. But to me, it's just still so pricey, because like I just wish a lot of that stuff. I wish it was like a travel agency or whatever type deal where your flights and all that stuff's a package deal
Yeah.
versus not. Because to me, if you're paying like 4 grand or whatever, 5 grand for a, you know, not even a week stay, let's just say 4 days, 4 day stay, with flights, with your hotels, all that stuff, with a car picking you up
Hmm.
at the airport or whatever, Uber, credits for Uber included or something. Like if they give you all that for like 4 grand, okay, that's a good deal. But for like how little of things they offer, plus for how like little amount of time you stay there, it's just like, man, come on, Disney. Like I know, this is hard times for people with the pandemic and stuff, but still like I mean, they know people will pay whatever it takes just because it's Star Wars and
Hmm.
it'll book quick. That's like the Super Bowl. In the NFL, the Super Bowl, front row tickets of the Super Bowl are like $50,000 on the 50-yard line.
Mm.
So, but people sell out the Super Bowl every year. 100,000 fans go there every year. So,
Wow.
people know to things like that sell. Just like Star Wars, just like the NFL, these events sell. And Star Wars, no matter what price, they could have made the prices $10,000 and people would still sell it out. Like it's too
Yeah.
big of to me it's too big of a property to not sell out because like we talked about before when we first initially covered this. At the end of the day, it's such a big, wide-reaching brand, everybody will want to go there. So, they know people will spend the money on it. And yeah, I just wish it included a lot of those perks though, like, the airplane, like the plane rides and, car picking you up or Uber, potentially just Uber credits. Like, hey, here's whatever $200 Uber credits for the week or something, or, whatever it may be. Like something along those lines versus to me, it's almost like a other than the actual experience you're having at the galactic thing itself, to me, it's really bare bones.
Mm. I mean, they have so much stuff to do as far
Yeah,
as like a schedule that they like jam pack with like so
yeah,
much to do. Where it's like, okay, every hour you got something going on, but it's almost like it's great to have a schedule, but then it almost feels like overburdening. We were speaking about this before, where it's like, okay, I just want to do my own thing, but then I'm gonna feel left out if I don't do their thing. But if I do their thing, I feel like this trip's gonna be over in 5 minutes because there's so much packed together.
yep,
So
yeah. Well,
there's not a whole lot of time to explore, you know.
yeah. Well, that's my thing with it is I'm one of those people too. If I'm paying money for it, like like they said, they give you the option. You can skip out on some of those things, but if I'm paying money for it, they could tell me one of those events are at 3 in the morning, and I would be there at 2:30 standing in line. Because if I'm going to be spending 5 grand on this trip, like I'm going to get every ounce of pennies squeezed out of it that I can.
Yeah.
So to me, I just I don't know. I mean, this isn't really a discussion like critiquing like the whole experience, but to me, I do wish I wish there was like you had more of a, because it's only what 3 days stay there.
Two.
Two? Oh God, I was thinking it was three. Okay, never mind then. So I was about to say, I wish there was four, but okay, I wish there was 3 days, and I wish one of the 3 days was a free day to just go explore and do whatever you want. But oh yeah, so I forgot it was only 2 days, so that makes it even worse. Um, so yeah, like I wish it was 3 days. Like maybe day one, you do the experiences you want, and then day two or day one you do like scheduled experiences, and then day two do whatever you want because it's like the in between, and then day three to like cap everything off, like
Hmm.
a hurrah, do some type of cool mission or something, you know what I mean, something like that to cap everything off. But yeah, it just makes it so difficult, like for fans, just because you the way how tightly ran the schedule is, it you feel pressured, like you have to do all that stuff for how much money you're spending.
Hmm.
um so I don't know, it's tough, it's a tricky situation. I'm sure it'll be a fun experience and stuff, but to me it's just, you could go to Hawaii for like 3 weeks on 5 grand. Like,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's my hard thing, to think about. Like, if like say if you, like a basic couple, if you want to get some just, cheap budgety type rooms in Hawaii, you could go stay in Hawaii easily 2 weeks on some budgety type rooms for $5,000. Um, so like that it's such a difficult situation when it comes to the whole pricing issue. But I think them setting up the booking is smart at the end of October, just because, if we do get the Book of Boba Fett trailer that week, that will be, the fans will be on a big high from it. Of course, everyone will be in like a Star Wars mood, basically. So I think there's a chance there's a really good marketing opportunity there. But also, they're releasing it on October 28th just because I guarantee you they're going to have some type of a preview or something in the Disney Plus day
Oh
on
yeah.
November 12th. So it's going to be, and then, you'll watch the thing on Disney Plus and it'll say, book your tickets now
No,
or book
well,
your spots now potentially.
no,
Like,
well, because this thing's gonna sell out for
oh
two,
yeah,
3 years in a matter of 10 minutes flat. I'm telling you,
true.
I'm calling it. You're gonna see 10 minutes later. Sorry, but we have guests booked until 2025. We will reopen reservations at a later time. Like it's literally gonna. You only have 100 rooms in this thing, and there's how many people living in
Yeah,
this
true.
not just the country, but this entire world. People will fly from Germany, from India, from Australia, wherever they live. People are gonna, the high echelon, the one percenters that can afford this. Or you don't have to be that rich to go, but the people that are willing to spend the money are gonna be around the
Yeah.
world. So uh, that's the thing. That's why it's so expensive. It's not like there's 10 of these that are going to be built simultaneously around the world to alleviate the vacancy and all that. No, there's literally only 100 rooms for every 2 days. So just like it's like you're gonna have to win the lottery to get a chance to even buy a ticket. I feel like no matter how much we keep harping on it, it's all supply and demand or whatever you want to attribute it to. Like as far as like they only have limited space. That's why they have to charge a premium because that's literally the only space that they have. They're renting off of like 100 rooms. So
Yep. Oh yeah, I mean it's totally understandable why they're charging that much. I mean, the economics of it just makes sense. Um, but I do wonder if the pandemic didn't happen. Like, sure, that's a big if, and there's a lot of different things in a different reality. If that didn't happen, I wonder if the price would be cut in half and be like $2,500 for 2 days. Like, because I think a lot of these prices for this and potentially a lot of other things like in our life and just real life and whatnot. I think a lot of the prices have gone up due to that situation. I mean, like heck, my sister, she just ordered a new furniture set, and they said it'll be 3 to 5 months before
yeah,
it's able to get shipped.
yeah,
So,
those
like, I
things take
think
forever.
I think there's a lot of things like that the pandemic's affected. So I think that's understandable why their prices are the way they are, just because it's affected them as well, and it's just a big property.
Yeah, yeah. Moving on to our last news story for the week. George Lucas is getting an action figure. He's getting the Black Series treatment for a Stormtrooper that is going to be celebrating the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm. They've been coming out with a lot of these cool figure reveals, and I'm looking at it right now, of course, and this thing looks fantastic. I really think that they got his hair just about right on this figure.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now too. I just pulled it up, and I don't know. I mean, it looks like George Lucas. Like that. I mean, that was my first thought when I first saw it initially. Was it looks just like George Lucas, and I think it looks great. Like, and to me, again, it just signifies like George Lucas. Like they know how special George Lucas is to the fans, and to me, a lot of this stuff, as we talked about in our prior episode, a lot of the decisions Star Wars has been making, I can applaud them on as of late, just because I think they became more self-aware on things, and like just a simple thing like this, like letting a George Lucas figure get made, like
Yep.
that's awesome. That's being self-aware. It's something little. It's just a figure. It's nothing. It's not George Lucas is coming back to direct some show or something. It's something little. It's just being self-aware and just building more and more little bits of trust with the fan, because I think Star Wars fans' trust was, I mean, it was for me, was totally shaken with some of the decision making that has gone on over the last few years prior to Mando coming out. So like I think Star Wars is starting to build the fans' trust back up, and they're starting to course correct, which is good. And this George Lucas figure coming out is just another sign that they became more self-aware, and they're like, oh wait, instead of acting like we don't want to, associate with George Lucas, maybe we should be more aware and like have him included in, this action, the Black Series line, and then we had him in, he had a little cameo in the Mando documentary with Grogu, like that was great. Like little things like that, fans will take that and run with it because that's something good the fans like. Because there was a while there, it just felt like they were kind of like distancing themselves from George and like a lot of George's
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I really felt like that when it came to the prequels. Like the prequels, it felt like initially they were really distancing themselves from.
Oh yeah.
Um, so like to me, Star Wars is becoming more aware. Like they're like, oh, fans like the prequel era. Fans like the stuff that George Lucas did. So I think they're becoming more aware in that regard. And just little things like this, like the Black Series figure, like his cameo, different things like that are just building up more trust for the fans again, where it was shaken. And I'm really happy about it. And to me, I think it's just going to lead to like better and better potential things down the line in terms of like George Lucas and or just Star Wars as a whole, building their trust up with their fans and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is cool now that we have three figures that are Star Wars directors inside
Yep.
of Star Wars, right? So you literally have we got this a couple weeks ago. Dave Filoni as Trapper Wolf. We got that special edition package coming out where he's in the X-wing gear. You have George Lucas in a Stormtrooper gear, but you also have the guy that has actually play or the character named Paz Vizsla who was in season one of The Mandalorian, which is the one guy that's picking a fight on Mando when they're, talking to the armor for the first time. So that I would technically consider that not Dave Filoni, a John Favreau figure. So you could have your
Yeah,
three
technically.
Star Wars Black Series figures technically in there. So that's a really cool thing for the fandom, like you said, is they're getting more and more open to just giving fans maybe what they've been desiring. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like there's already been in some kind of format a George Lucas figure. Have you seen them at any
Yeah.
conventions or
Well,
online or anything anywhere?
yeah. The what you're thinking of is the George Lucas Celebration figure from Star Wars Celebration like '02 or
Oh
something.
wow, okay.
Yeah, no, that's an old figure. And it was he in Clone Trooper gear or he might have been in X-wing pilot gear, something like that. But he yeah, it was a celebration figure from like it was either Attack of the Clones. I'm pretty sure it was not for Revenge of the Sith. I'm like 95%. I'm pretty sure it was for Attack of the Clones. But but yeah, it was a Lucas figure from Celebration. It was like a Celebration exclusive or something. Um, so I mean, there was that, but that's the only thing of like note that I can think of in terms of George Lucas figures. There was that Celebration one, and then now this one, which is great. And another thing too, it's just crazy to think about. Lucasfilm is 50 years old now. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
wild. Like that is really crazy to think about it. It's been around that long. Um,
Man.
so like it's just crazy to think about like all the different things Lucasfilm has touched over the years and like the different iconic projects that they've been involved in.
Oh yeah, like Willow and Indiana Jones and so
Yep.
many things, man. So many things. And then just um, Lucasfilm being like creating ILM, which led to so many films being made because of ILM, right? All the special effects.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it really is a big deal, not just for Star Wars, but the entire movie industry as a whole, easily.
Oh, for sure. Like I mean that's one of the biggest things um about Star Wars is like how it's impacted the industry. And I just think it's ironic. As Palpatine would say, how ironic. But I think it's ironic that George Lucas is an action figure when one of the biggest things that blew up his wallet when Star Wars came out was he had like the licensing rights for all of the merchandising for Star Wars when he made that first initial deal for Star Wars: A New Hope. So, it's just ironic that he goes from like basically being getting rich off the merchandising back then, and now he is the merchandise. and and it's just funny to think because he's making money off this because he owns so much of the like the stock. So it's just all
Yeah.
it's just ironic at the end of the day. Like, he starts off getting money off the merchandising, and now he's making money off himself.
You're right. That's one of the things that made it so successful is the merchandising, and now he's being merchandised. It comes
Yep.
around full circle, right? George Lucas did a lot of things where there was a lot of patterns. Star Wars, it rhymes, and it's rhyming kind of for him right now in a matter of speech.
Yep.
So the news is finally done. So there you go. That was we didn't have many stories, but very, very worthy stories of conversation to be had this week. And now we have two things we're going to talk about, review, and discuss. The first one kind of blindsided me, and I think just about everybody else, because there was zero promotion for this thing. It just ended up on Disney Plus. We have the Galaxy of Sounds. This is season one, so there was room for more of these in the future. But what they are is and I'm going to read exactly from uh, Disney Plus here. Encounter some of the greatest, loudest, and most bizarre. Oh, that's oddities. Okay. I guess they don't have a specific, but it's basically all sounds. They take out the dialogue, they take out the music, and they're showing us scenes of Star Wars with just the raw footage of the sound. But they compile this in seven. This one has seven different shorts. They range from wonder to excitement to dark side, light side beeps, connections, and oddities are up there right now. And I was telling you guys this in the chat, like, man, the editing in these is spot on. Like the way they go from transitioning. Like Milton always gets on here and talks about how he's at the gym and how he, works out to certain Star Wars like YouTube videos. I
Yep.
think he's going to be opening up his Disney Plus a little bit more often when he's on the treadmill or whatever he's doing to warm up, because some of these are like the excitement one was probably my favorite because exactly it just like epitomizes how great the action is in Star Wars, and it just shines a light on just no dialogue, no music, just really cool Star Wars happening in front of you. Um, so overall, this was something that I think is going to be really good for Disney Plus, right? We always talk about they have this vast network of stuff they're sitting on with Star Wars, and this is the kind of stuff I would expect them to put on here more often and more, in the past 2 years or whatever Disney Plus has been. I'm surprised they haven't done more of these sorts of things where it's just like doesn't really take any extra effort of getting any more actors or creating technology. They can just take clips from whatever exists in Star Wars and just do cool little edits and stuff like that. These are all under 10-minute long little mini kind of showcases here of some of the best things in Star Wars and just a very cool edited version. So really enjoyed these more than I thought I would. And I'm probably gonna go back and watch some of them honestly a few times. They're great to like put on your TV. If you have like a 4K TV or something you want to show somebody, like, oh yeah, let me just turn on some Star Wars. You can turn on one of these and people just like, wow, this looks great. You know what I mean? So I think it could be really good for like demos. These kind of fall in line with early on May the 4th. We had Star Wars biomes and Star Wars like the walkthrough with the ships. So it's kind of like the same kind of feel, but I think I like these even more than them because it's all Star Wars we know. But I've not seen any of these scenes without any sound before. So actually experiencing some of these scenes like, oh, that's what that actually sounds like when it's not music and dialogue, over top of it, which is a new way of looking at Star Wars. So, what were your initial thoughts on this, Ben?
Yeah, I thought it was really good as a whole. Just because even going into it, I was like, this is probably going to be pretty good, I would say, just because like Star Wars Sounds is like the epitome of what Star Wars is, like just from the beginning of Star Wars. The sounds are what makes the franchise work as a whole, whether it be, blasters, lightsabers, ships, especially the ships. I feel like they really make the impact on
Hmm.
what Star Wars is. Um, so going into it, I was pleasantly surprised, but I wasn't too surprised just because it's what I expected. So I really enjoyed it just because of that reason alone. Like, sounds are what Star Wars is. Like it just, I can't put it any other way because it's so iconic and synonymous with the brand. And to me, as you said, even like they should be releasing these things whenever they have downtime between shows, which, we're not going to really have that next year. But whenever they have downtime between shows, just cut up together, you know, 6 or 8 episodes of these little shorts, and it won't take much effort, I'm sure, from an editor's point of view, just to get this. All those people that are working for them are so experienced at editing by now that they could probably do this in an hour or something. Like I'm sure it's no big deal for those pro editors out there. So I think there's a really big opportunity here. And as I joked around before, I think like with Star Wars Biome specifically, they should 100% do a narrative type style for that. Like they should
Hmm.
have Mark Hamill or Tamara Morrison or somebody like that narrate like you would see on like the shows on Discovery Channel with David Attenborough like narrating it. Like that would be amazing. Um, but like in terms of the sounds, like you could always play off the sounds. Like a cool thing I would love to see them do with the sounds too is like set it up. Uh, then again, I guess it probably would be harder with animation. Like we could do like a Bad Batch. You know what I mean? Like you could do a Bad Batch. You could do that after all these animated shows too. Like set up sound like the sound pieces versus without music and stuff like that. Like I think there's so many opportunities in terms of sounds specifically, but also just as a whole for creativity in terms of the whole like aspect of non-canon Star Wars, or not even, I don't know, whatever you would classify these as, like just fun projects, I guess. Like maybe, you could do tons of little fun projects of like whatever it may be. Like the possibilities are limitless, honestly.
Yeah. I did want to mention what's really neat about these is it gives you an overall viewing of Star Wars as a whole with cinematic
Yep.
live action stuff. Because not only did I show you, the original trilogy, sequel trilogy, and prequels, they're showing you Rogue One, they're showing you Solo, and they're weaving in seasons 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. It's
Yep.
just so neat seeing like all these platforms of Star Wars, whether it be Disney Plus or spin-offs or the saga films, to be shown back to back. So it's neat for me to see like going from Mando to like episode one to Solo to Return of the Jedi all in 5 second span of time. Like, and they all look great together, especially the Disney Plus stuff. You compare it to the cinematic stuff, it looks just as good, if not better. To the stuff for the actual movies. You can't give the argument anymore about, oh yeah, series are inferior as far as like from a cinematic viewpoint as movies. That just doesn't exist anymore. And this is like a testament to that. I'm watching one of the ones that blew my mind the most, one of the transitions, in excitement, it's at 2 minutes and 38 seconds. You're seeing, or around there, yeah, you're seeing basically Han escaping in A New Hope on the Falcon. He's blasting the stormtroopers in Daki Bay 94, running up the ramp, and then it instantly cuts to Alden Ehrenreich as Han, literally in the
Yep.
same position with his arm and everything, shooting at people, on Kessel running up the ramp. And it's like, man, this guy who's editing this thing has to get a raise because so not even ones that relate at all. Like you'll see stuff with like just complete different movies like editing in a way where I was like, oh, I never even would have thought that could have happened. Um, but overall, just fantastic. Like seeing like all these moments of like people igniting lightsabers right now, just like from Ben Solo to Ahsoka Tano and Mando with the dual sabers to Rey and all these people that it's all Star Wars, and it just reminds me like how cool this franchise is. Not that I need reminding or anything. I live it every day, live with it every day, but it's a neat tribute. I think if anything, it's a really good tribute this series to Star Wars.
Oh yeah, for sure. It definitely is. And to me it just it really brings out the creativity of, whoever the editor is, like just, putting transitions together like that, like you said, that may connect or may not connect at all. Like it's cool how they seamlessly transition. Like that's great, and it just really opens up so many possibilities. Like as I said before, of potential projects. Like they could do so many things with with this downtime with Disney Plus. Like you could release one of these little things every couple weeks or at least once a month. Just whether it be sounds or another series of biomes or an all ship series, like things like that. Or heck, even get they could just get somebody like just to do a day in the life at Lucasfilm. Like that could be a cool series actually. Like just a day at the life and behind the scenes at Lucasfilm for like maybe a low level writer there or something, just to give a behind the scenes look. Like there's so many different potential series opportunities they have, and they're just so basically limitless. Like you could do those type of things. Um, I've always thought too, like, man, Disney Plus should somehow like contract George Lucas to do something like name it like the Lucas Files or something, and have George Lucas like do like an 8 episode series about anything, like what his creative process of like just give us an updated behind the scenes. Like sure, there are behind the scenes documentaries of Lucas like talking about things, but give us an updated one, and have it called the Lucas Files and have it be 6 or 8 episodes, and fans would eat that up. Like those type of things. Like I want them to use like in terms of Star Wars anyways, be creative with the platform, because like that's the big thing George Lucas did with Star Wars in general, was he
Hmm.
stepped out on a limb and was creative with different things. Like initially prequels, they were a swing and a miss for a lot of people, and then people came back around to them and were like, oh, those were really good. Like use this Star Wars Disney Plus platform specifically for a creative outlet for potential creators within the Lucasfilm franchise, to do a biomes or a sounds or a ships or a lightsabers thing or a whatever. Like there's so many opportunities they could do. They could utilize this for, and that would be, it wouldn't be going in like vein of George Lucas, because George Lucas was always about creativity and pushing the limits, and I think they could push the limits of creativity by doing these type of short series like this specifically.
Yeah, there's just a certain quality that resonates with these. Like, man, this is just some
Yep.
cool, just glimpses at filmmaking when you're just like cutting out everything else. It's like very artisan like, right? All right, let's just
Yep.
focus on the sound, because we know like, award ceremonies come around each year. Whether or not Star Wars ever wins, they're always at least nominated from sound editing and all that kind of audio stuff all the time. I mean, Mando won this year. They won it.
Yep.
They won an Emmy for that. So I believe they did. I know they won a lot of the technical ones. I believe that's one of them. So yeah, goes the show there. And now we're gonna transition to our main discussion point for today, and that is Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales. It's a 40-minute special aired on Disney Plus on a Friday, since it is a short, or since it is a film in a regard. They release those still on Friday. Uh, so this one's all about basically Vader's castle after the events of the Rise of Skywalker. So yes, we're in a trend here. We have two Lego Star Wars specials, both Holiday Special and Terrifying Tales, that are taking place after the Rise of Skywalker. So take with that what you will. But this is a fun adventure where Poe Dameron, he has to go for repairs. What does he land on? The most evil planet in the galaxy. He lands on Mustafar, and there he finds that he's got to get repairs, and he goes to Vader's castle to seek help, and he finds this young kid, and well, through getting the young kid's help, he's got to kind of stick around and get told some spooky ghost stories until they finally are able to get off of the planet. But we do have some returning characters from the Lego Star Wars Freemaker Adventures. You have that Hut from there, as well as his two goons that are always hanging around with him, Grabala the Hut. So yeah, I mean, my initial thoughts were this is what I expected. It didn't exceed my expectations by any means, but it was exactly what I thought it'd be. Just like a fun 45-minute romp through Star Wars, but where it did actually pull me in closer as far as like getting my attention was the three different little short story esque escapades that were going on, whether it be, Luke Skywalker's What If series pilot episode to, the big one for me was the whole Souls story being kind of rewritten with the Knights of Ren and Ben Solo, falling to the dark side, albeit pretty abbreviated in this version. And there was, of course, the Grievous versus Darth Maul on Spider Legs little thing there. I thought the comedy was pretty good for the most part. Nothing crazy. Although they did lean into some of the horror tropes, especially some things like The Shining, where like the droid burst his head through the door and tried to act like here's Johnny, but in the Star Wars version of that. So overall, pretty enjoyable. Will I watch it again? Probably not, if I'm being honest with you. But I do like that Lucasfilm again is try to branch out. Try and hopefully we'll have, a version of this every year because of the way they leave it off. Vinay is not dead. He's somehow surviving lava because we see his hand popping out of there like it's the Terminator or something like that. So those are my initial impressions. So I'll throw it over to you, Ben.
Yeah, I think yeah, as you said, just to kick off your final point there, I think for sure we're either going to get a continuation of this exact episode or little mini movie next year, or maybe if they if we get a Lego Holiday Special potentially dropped again this year, maybe Benet will carry over into that or something. Um,
Hmm.
but overall, I would say, as you said, it's what we expected. It's Star Wars Lego. I can say though that I didn't enjoy this one as much as I did the holiday special from last year.
Hmm.
I can say that just because um I don't know. It just there was something about it. It just had a weird feeling. I don't know. I don't know. I think it comes down to me not being a huge fan of Poe, I guess, because like I don't know, just having him almost be the lead initially, like I was just kind of like eh. But because I liked having Ray go back in the past and in the holiday one, I thought that was great. But for this one, I thought overall it was really good. I liked how it broke up, the three separate like mini stories in between. Like that was really nice. I uh I thought, as you said, the whole little what if series with Luke in there, that was really good. Like they did a really good job on that,
Hmm.
actually. I can give them big props on that. Just because like the whole what if thing of, him going and joining the Empire and then basically being in Vader's fleet, or I guess not fleet, whatever your squadron, being in Vader's squadron. I thought that was pretty good. Like I thought that was nice. And then I really did like, as you said, the horror tropes they put in this. Like you said, The Shining. But I also thought, you know, when we're watching this, we do have to, as you said, it is what it is. It's Legos. We're probably not going to watch it again unless like there's like kids or something like that. But to me, if you're looking at this from a kid's perspective, I think Terrifying Tales is like for a younger kid, potentially in like the whatever range, like younger audience, like 5 to 10 or 5 to 7, 8 range, whatever. I think there's a good chance some of these things in this episode could be terrifying, not terrifying, but spooky for a kid. Like to me, the main scene I thought that was like the quote unquote spookiest was where Kylo had like all the ghosts like talking to him basically, um, or like he was having Han and Leia, and then the other like the Sith, the Ren people, like talking to him and all that stuff, and Luke, like you had all those kind of like a ghosty type scene. Like I thought like as a kid that could be a potentially scary or spooky thing for a kid. So I think, and it's not of course over the top spooky, but for a kid that could be, which is good because kids don't have to be like sheltered from scary things when they're younger. Like they you grow up with it and you
Hmm.
you know you learn to like basically be immune or like not as bothered by scary things. So like this and it, introducing a little bit of scariness stuff like that. That's cool. I do like that aspect of it. And yeah, I just thought it was pretty fun overall.
Yeah, I like again like Holiday special, I think you hit the nail on the head. I also enjoyed that more. I think the holiday special was more enjoyable from the fact that it gave us the best of Star Wars throughout all the eras of Star Wars. Even Mandalorian showed up in there. So I liked how they really gave us that overhead look at Star Wars Galaxy and just a lot of fun characters where we had more of a laser focused story that wasn't involving an ensemble cast as much. I do like how we might have hints at what might happen in canon. Yeah, obviously, I don't really treat this
Yep.
as too much of a canon story just because it's Lego and there's a lot of over the top things going on. But I think if you want to look at it from like the gross kind of overarching, oh, what if this was giving it like a canonical ramification later on? Same with like, Finn obviously being trained by Rey. That was a really cool thing in Holiday Special. I think Rogue Squadron, if it were to take place after the Rise of Skywalker, could have us like Rogue Squadron hunting down like the remnants of the First Order. All right. Because I never
Yep.
really believe that they were destroyed that easily. Because if you see the Battlefront 2 game, if you're playing through that DLC with Iden Versio as an older woman and she's on board that one star cruiser of the First Order, and you like open up the map to see like what's like you find out what the First Order is up to, and you see all the ships that they have throughout the galaxy. It's literally like thousands of like actual like star destroyers, it looks like, all over the
Yep.
galaxy. So I'm like, wait a minute, like how did the resistance just suddenly take out like thousands of ships all at the same time, according to like Finn during the Battle of Exegol? Like that's not happening. I don't believe that. So I feel like there's going to be kind of like with the Empire, like these things don't just fall overnight. And I like the fact that they acknowledge like, hey, the First Order's still around. Like, oh, they're kind of a thorn on our side. They're not nowhere near as powerful, but we still got to take care of business and we still got to hunt them down. And it was cool seeing Poe Dameron actually like taking the fight to them and doing his cool moves in his X-wing, of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was really cool. Now, not to be the Debbie Downer in the conversation, but I think I don't know. I think this has actually negative ramifications for post episode 9 because my theory on it is I think if they're letting them play around with post episode 9 for Star Wars Legos, to me that is a clear signal like, hey, we're not doing anything post episode 9, like, other than these Lego things. Um, like that's why I've always thought, and until we see a trailer otherwise or hear otherwise, I think Rogue Squadron will be in like the between episode 6 and episode 7 timeline. I 100% think that. Um, and to me, like I said, I just think this all these Lego things, like the Lego Holiday Special, it's like the what if. It's like the what if that we're getting now for Disney for the Marvel stuff. Like, what if Ray trained Finn? What if, Finn's hunting or Poe's like, doing these missions, etc. Like to me, like the Legos are their potential like what ifs, but I don't think we're going to be getting. I really don't think we're going to be getting much of anything post episode 9. Like until we hear otherwise, like I said with Rogue Squadron, I do not think it's post 9. I really don't.
Ah, that's disappointing.
No, I know I hate saying that, but to me, I just feel like to me it's like this whole thing like if post episode 9 was important to Disney, why or let's just flip it around,
Yeah, yeah,
so if if the so look how the Lego specials
yeah.
are.
Uh-huh.
They're post episode 9.
Yeah.
None of them are between 6 and 7. Have you noticed that? So nothing's between 6 and 7 really. So like to me, like they're saving everything for like the Mandoverse timeline. I really 100% think that. Like other than obviously the shows that are not in it, like Kenobi or whatever, but I do think that like Rogue Squadron will be related to the Mandoverse. Um and I really don't think we're going to be getting episode 9 post episode 9 stuff because I mean, look, you're like you follow all the books and comics and everything, like much more of the canon stuff than I do. That's why I always check out your reviews and whatnot. But like none of it's after episode 9. Like to me, that's them just saying, "Hey, we're not doing anything after episode 9, so like just be prepared. Like we're going to keep going backwards basically." I mean, we have the High Republic stuff. We have the Old Republic stuff. We have the Acolyte coming out. We have Andor, Kenobi, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can just go on. I mean, heck, the Mando stuff is back in time. We already know what happens after it. So, like to me, I just don't think they're going in that direction, and which is disappointing because I've always had the belief, like this is a bigger like meta Star Wars talk too. Like I've always had the belief, if you want to quote unquote like fix Star Wars, like fix all the fandom, like people complaining about like too much Skywalker stuff, or too much Rebels and Empire stuff. To me, all you have to do is make something after episode 9, but do it like 1,000 years in the future, so nothing is relevant. Like totally start over. Like if you want to do that, because if you make something post episode 9 10 years after, there's still going to be carryover. Like, oh, why isn't this, that, or the other thing from the sequels in there? So, like to me, that's like kind of my thoughts on that. Like, I don't think we're going to be getting much post episode 9 other than these Lego specials, which stinks to me. To me, as a fan of Star Wars, like that stinks because I want the franchise to go forward. Like, I love everything between episode 1 to 9 overall. Like, there are definitely critiques between episodes 1 to 9, but I want the franchise to move forward with things.
Hmm.
And to me, like they're having a hard time doing that because I think, they got so scarred by a lot of the different backlash with fans. I think they're gun shy to push things forward. I really do. And I don't know, like with this Lego stuff, it makes me really nervous that the only thing post episode 9 we're going to be getting is our Lego specials. Like if the next Lego special comes out and it's post episode 9, just think of me on this podcast saying, "Yep, the only post 9 stuff is Lego."
Yeah, you got a point there, right? No books, no comics. It seems, they want to
Video
leave that
games, I mean,
that yeah, they want to leave that era to kind of do its thing for maybe 5, maybe even 10 years to go back when you're right. Like I think Lucasfilm generally handpicks certain eras that they want to flesh out. We're fleshing out High Republic, we're fleshing out 6 and 7, but that's that. But getting back to the actual special,
yep.
did you have any what was your favorite story out of the three? We'll go there.
Yeah, my favorite for sure was the Luke one, like the Luke what if story. Like I thought that was really good, especially because coming off of all of our Marvel What If series, like the Marvel What If series, in my opinion, is great. Like I love it. I think 100% think we need a Star Wars What If series, and like just the little Luke What If series, like what if he joined the Empire, is basically what it was. I thought
Hmm.
it was awesome. Like soon, I actually wasn't even expecting that to go that way. Like I had known about this Lego stuff going into it, but I didn't specifically remember this part exactly, like of Luke. So when I was like, where are they going with this? With like a Wookiee's foot or whatever the lucky thing was instead of like
Yep.
a rabbit's foot, or Wookiee's paw, going into it. I was like, where are they going with this? Like, and then, you have the Imperial recruiter, like Luke's like, oh, I want to go somewhere or take me away off this planet. And the Imperial recruiter's like, hey, join the Empire. We can take you off this planet, blah, 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 blah. Like, and he keeps going through these different events like that. I thought it was really good. Like
Yeah.
it was like a what if. It was literally Star Wars what if in Lego form. And I thought it was cool. And I think we need more of that because it plays out really well. The Whoever the voice actor is, like, sure, it doesn't sound like Mark Hamill at all, but I think the voice actor for Luke, uh, I think plays the character like emotionally really well. Like it gets a good like young, like what I mean, like a young kid, young late teens, early 20s Luke vibe, which is good. Um, I also thought I'm not sure. Was it Matthew Wood who was playing Grievous because it sounds just like him.
Probably. He usually always does that. Yeah, that
Yeah, well,
character.
I thought that was great because I was like, man, this is just giving me chills. Like, I want him to voice Grievous some way or another. Like have Kenobi flashback to Grievous or
Oh my
something in the.
gosh, yeah.
Wow, holy crap! If that happened, wow. But I loved hearing Matthew Wood. I thought that was really cool. One thing though, I thought, man, that hut was whoever the voice actor was. It was just driving me up the wall.
Yeah.
Man, every time that hut was on screen, I was just like, man, this is so bad. Like I don't know, nothing against the voice actor, they're talented and all, but it just did not connect with me to be a hut character.
That's honestly the reason why I think I stopped watching the Freemaker Adventures. I mean, I try my best to experience most of what Star Wars has to offer in its
Yeah.
full capacity. But there's actual certain things that I myself won't watch, and or at least I'll stop watching. Uh, Two of them, one of them being Jedi Temple challenges on YouTube. I watched the first two episodes. Once you watch the first episode, you already know how the show is going to go every week. Every episode of the 10 is literally the same obstacle course, just with different kids. So whatever. There's that, and there was Star Wars Freemaker Adventures, where I watched the first season all the way. The second season, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. It's
Yep.
like no fault against the demographic, but I am not the demographic. I am not a 4 to 7 or 8 year old to watch this. Not saying that you have to be to watch it, but just it just didn't resonate with me, and I just felt like it wasn't worth my time at least.
Oh yeah, that's how I felt. Like I said, the voice actor for the hut killed me. I I've always thought though, whoever plays the Emperor for the Lego specials does a really good job of playing like an evil sounding, conniving Emperor character. Like whoever does the voice actor for the Emperor, I think always does really good. The Luke character, I think, always does really good. It was like I said, it was great having Matthew Wood be Grievous. Um, and then yeah, I don't know. It just like you said, the Freemaker Adventures, they were what they were. Like you said, I watched the first season too, and it was I'm good. But I will continue to watch these holiday specials, because they're like
Yeah,
events basically versus those series.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I just think they're good for like the demographics. Like you said, if you're introducing younger audiences into Star Wars, that could be a potential good gateway. But to me, also, I feel like you could also just like if they're in the 4 to 7 range, yeah, you could throw this on. But if they're in like the 8 to 12 range, just give them Clone Wars or Rebels.
you're right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but like with this show, it's fun. It has its fun moments. Or I mean, these things they have their fun moments. Like I do like the I feel like the main overarching part of these series or these Lego properties in general that they cater to adults is when they put in like the meta Star Wars jokes in there.
yeah,
Just like that's the main thing. Like to me, okay, if Lucasfilm, if you're watching right now, if you want us in our 20s and 30s to watch this show or these properties, just throw in more meta Star Wars jokes because people like us, we like those type of things. Like I always go back to the Lego Holiday Special. We, fans initially for the Force Awakens, they criticize, oh, Star Killer Base, ha ha ha, yeah, big Death Star, okay. And then in the Lego Holiday Special, the Emperor literally says to Kylo, he's like, Star Killer Base, that's the dumbest name I've never ever heard. Like,
yeah.
things like that, those are meta Star Wars jokes, like connecting us to that time when fans were criticizing the Star Killer Base name. That's funny. To me, that's funny. So like if you keep throwing in like little meta jokes like that as a kid, if a kid's watching it, they don't get it. Oh, it's like haha, yeah, funny joke. Star Killer Base is a dumb name. But for us, it connects to an actual event of when fans were complaining about the name of Star Killer Base. So like I think if they throw in more meta type jokes like that, that will attract audiences like you and I and maybe people listening to this podcast like it'll attract us more to watch this show or these properties just because, you know, that'll be to me it can be worth my time. Like I can watch a 35, 45 minute thing if they have some good meta jokes in there just for our, adult laughs like, "Oh, haha, yeah, that connects to, this fan drama thing or something, or something like that." Like, I can watch things like that. But if it's just straight up Star Wars Lego with no jokes in it, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, they did have some really cool full circle Star Wars jokes in this one.
Yep.
I wish I could recall exactly, but I remember seeing some exchanges on Twitter and whatnot that I totally agreed with. Like, oh yeah, they got that one. They nailed that one pretty good. So
The one who was the bad guy with, oh, Ren.
yeah,
Like he made some crack joke about, oh, what did Luke just train for 20 minutes on Dagobah or something?
yes, yes, that
Like
was the one.
like to me, yeah, that's always been like a running joke in the Star Wars community, and how long was Luke actually on Dagobah in Empire Strikes Back? And the funny thing is, he probably was actually on there screen time wise, probably 20 minutes. Um,
20
if you
minutes,
think,
but you got to realize that a sector of space is really large, and if you're going at like sub hyperspace levels from like Hoth all the way to Bespin, that could take like days or weeks probably.
oh yeah, but
So,
yeah,
yeah.
like the joke,
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
it's just funny because like screen time wise during Empire Strikes Back, he may be only on screen. It may be 20 to 30 minutes he's on Dagobah. Um, or 20 to 30 minutes of Dagobah related scenes. Um, so I think that is good. They threw in like little jokes like that. Um, and I just, as you said, Luke could have been on Dagobah weeks or who knows, maybe a month or two. Like we don't know specifically. Um, so I just think they can keep playing off jokes like that. And that's a good, smart way to do things because when you make jokes about that, or you make jokes about Star Killer Base or things like that, to me, um, like the Star Killer Base joke, for example, that could potentially bother fans, hardcore fans of the sequels. But to me, I've said it ever since we started this podcast. If you can't laugh at something you really enjoy, then you probably are taking it way too seriously. So like to me, Star Wars, I laugh at some of the funny stuff about it. Like I always use the GIF of Salacious Crumb on Twitter. Like I'll respond to people with just that GIF. Like you know, because it's hilarious. Like that. Like when I watch Return of the Jedi, I literally laugh when he's laughing because he's a hilarious little whatever he is creature. Um, so like
Quacky monkey lizard.
yeah, that. um, so he's hilarious. But if you can't laugh at that stuff, like if you take offense that I'm using Salacious Crumb in a joking way, to me it's like, whoa, tone it back a notch. Like this is a movie franchise, and if you can't laugh at something you really enjoy, then you're taking it too seriously, or you're just taking, you're just getting too worked up over something small. Like I said, the Star Killer base joke. If you really love the sequels, okay, cool. But to me, even if I really, really love the sequels, I could laugh at that and go, oh, yeah, that's funny. It makes sense. Ha, ha, ha. Like, it's a funny joke. Or, like we said, I love the original trilogy. Those are my three favorite Star Wars movies. And I can laugh at that Luke Dagobah thing because it is. It's a valid running joke that's been going on as long as I can remember
Mm-hmm.
being a Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Um, and oh, I do love also one of the jokes that you forgot to mention, Chris, was they cut off one of the characters. I don't remember which one it was, but they cut him off from saying, "I have a bad feeling about this," because he said, "I have a bad," and then stopped. Um, and I was like, "Yes, finally they cut somebody off saying that." Um,
Wait, did they
but
cut somebody off saying that in Rogue One? Wasn't it somebody about to say the door closed?
yeah, someone was about to say it in Rogue One, and the door closed.
Well, it was
But
either between Jin or K2SO and then Cassian. It was one of them.
yeah, I think it was. I feel like it was Cassian who was about to say it. Um, but but yeah, just like things like that. Like if you can't have a good laugh at like the franchise you really enjoy, like
Yeah,
to me, it's just like have more fun with it. Have more fun with
yeah.
it. I love I love Star Wars memes. Like they're hilarious. Like, and the funny thing is, a lot of times they're valid or like they make sense to me. It's hilarious because my grandma's 74 years old and she'll send me like a Star Wars meme randomly on Facebook or something, and I just laugh about it because it's like, oh, that's true. Um, like different things like that. Like, oh, if any of you guys don't follow already, there's actually like a fake Darth Vader Twitter account that has like a few 100,000 followers on Twitter, and it's hilarious. Like, it always tweets all kinds of like Star Wars memes and gifs and like funny, basically like what Darth Vader would be saying on a Monday or like different things like that. Um, like I love those type of things, and like you can do that with Star Wars Lego. Like throw in those jokes, throw in those funny memes. Like don't say I have a bad feeling about this because I'm tired of hearing it, quite frankly. Um, but like I just think Star Wars has so many opportunities to like be joking, and they need to go about doing it. Like there was an interview with Kasdan a few months ago or so. He was talking about the early days of like Lucas developing the after Star Wars: A New Hope came out. Lucas kicked around an idea. He said it was one conversation. It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything other than that. But there was one conversation George Lucas did mention. What do you think about potentially doing a Star Wars comedy? Like, there was that idea way back then. So like even Lucas clear back then potentially could have done a Star Wars comedy. So
Yeah,
so to me I don't know, I just think Star Wars, especially with Lego, just lighten up a little, have fun with it.
yeah. And we know we had that show that's on the shelf still, that the infamous Star Wars shelf, called Star Wars Detours. So there was like 50 episodes done. I think a few months ago they leaked out one of them, like for like an eight
Yep.
minute segment. In Dexter's Cafe there, a dining, whatever, his diner on Coruscant, something like that. But anyway, yeah, no. So yeah, it's fitting that niche pretty well. I feel like, right? If you want that lighthearted, really just pokes fun at itself, Star Wars story, Lego Star Wars, Terrifying Tales, kind of doesn't trail too far off of what we know from Lego Star Wars on the screen. A couple of things I wanted to mention before we wrap this up is just I like how they acknowledge the droids, the separatist battle droids post T-Rose, right? Because you always see, like, well, you don't always see, you never see any droids in Empire Strikes Back or A New Hope or Return of the Jedi. There's this massive war that spanned thousands of planets. It's called the Clone Wars, but we don't have any like trash heaps with battle droids or anything. So I like the fact that this Graballa the Hutt is like, hey, I'm gonna save out on some labor costs and just reactivate all these old droids to be as like my people that are building this place and maintaining it. So I like that little detail along with the thing with the First Order and having the remnants were like my two favorite things, like from a lore perspective of like, yeah, they're really doing some cool things with what exists. Another thing I do want to comment on the whole Ben Solo story a little bit. So I really do enjoy the Rise of Kylo Ren four-part miniseries by Charles Soule. Now there are a lot of people out there that like it but don't love it because there's one moment in there where it's very let's say it's kind of convoluted. It's kind of a little bit strange because it's like showing what happens at a Jedi temple, and there's like lightning that strikes it, and it's not. We're not exactly sure if it was Kylo Ren that did it, if it was Snoke that did it, all the way from where he's currently at on board what we know later as like a Drengir mothership type of thing from High Republic. So yeah, I mean, I like that they were telling the story, but I just wish the story was a little bit more faithful to what Charles Soule wrote ultimately, because I feel like there are a lot of liberties taken with this retelling of that four-part miniseries, specifically because basically the Knights of Ren like do something with the temple, and that wasn't even possibly on the table in the comics. Like they mention it to him they mentioned it Ben after Ben already met them. In the comics, Ben hadn't met them yet, and that's what kind of catapults Ben on his mission is because like the whole temple gets destroyed and he like runs away from it in like fear because it's not really it's there's a term I don't know if you could help me with it um about if it's
Describe it.
ambiguous. It's a very
Oh,
ambiguous thing. Like we don't know what happened with the temple. And I think that's what a lot of people. There's an insinuation there that Snoke did it, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like the stories because they're like, "Well, Snoke did it. It takes away from like the whole Kylo Ren thing, I guess, or something like that." But they I guess they tried to just completely take that out of the equation for the story to make it like easier for people to digest, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I think not to dive into a big sequel analysis, but I think a lot of the stuff connecting to the sequels, like the Kylo Ren comic and things, and the sequels themselves specifically, we saw, they were mismanaged. I mean, plain and simple, they were mismanaged. Like from different people, like Daisy Ridley literally said, going into Episode 9, they weren't sure who her parents were. Um, different things like that to me just says things were mismanaged. And I think like the Kylo Ren comic, like things like that, it's just pointing more toward that. Just because it's like you said, if Snoke did it, then why have Kylo Ren's arc go in the direction it went? Like you could have done something different. So I don't know. I just think a lot of it comes back to the management of the overall sequel project itself, like as a whole. Um, just because there were just so many different issues, like different communication issues with things. Like I, I 100% believe, and I don't think we'll ever get the confirmation one way or another. But if you could, if you could get J.J. Abrams in a room privately and ask him, initially when you created Snoke, was he actually going to be Palpatine? And I don't think he was going to be, but I think what happened was, you had the events happen in Last Jedi, people freaked out, and they're like, crap, we got to like hardcore change things to make everybody happy. We got to try to please everybody versus telling a good story. And and I think that's what happened with Episode 9 because it was like I saw a meme back then when Episode 9 came out. In case of emergency, break glass for Palpatine. You know, so I think a lot of like these connections, like with Kylo Ren, with this comic and things, have to do with the mismanagement of the sequels, and that bleeds out to the comics and the books and the video games and the ancillary projects because with everything being canon, you have to have it connect, and it's basically like building a house. If you're building a house on a foundation of mud, it'll always be slipping out from under itself versus a foundation of like concrete or bedrock or whatever. It won't be. And there wasn't like a foundation built, like a solid foundation built for projects like the Kylo Ren comic, things like that to bleed out of. And I think that's what hurt that Kylo Ren comic specifically, honestly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like there's not really it's hard to like blame any if that's the right term. I don't know if that I don't want to like point
Yeah.
accusations at anybody, but it's just yeah. Overall, the situation could have been better, and we're living in like the aftermath. Things trying to go back, trying to fix, trying to brighten up some spots. Looking over here, looking over there.
Yep.
Just try to piece everything together. It could be a little bit much sometimes. But that's just a sequel trilogy for you. Now, there's great things that admire about it. There's also things where we're never probably gonna get over, no matter how much they try to do things on the back end to make things rectified and whatnot. But that's just the reality that we're living through. I think closing thoughts on this real quick.
Yep.
Maybe next time they make a trilogy, why not just shoot it all at the same time? Rather than have 2 year gaps, you can get your people you could film it in 2 3 years. They're only obligated to shoot for 2 3 years. The actors, rather than having to set aside 6 or 7 years of their life, they can only do 3 or 4. Just get your writers on board to be all on the same page, and just be like Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson just shoot these things back to back to back. release one a year. Even if you want to put it out one every 2 years, that's fine too. But I think that the consistency would be there. But that's literally a conversation for another
Yeah.
day.
Well, look, right. I mean, right in house right now, they own Avatar, and Avatar shot what, two, three, four. They shot like three movies back to back to back, or maybe four, because or they might have a fifth one planned, but they shot like two through four back to back to back, and that's why it took them so long. So like, they have it in house already. Like there's precedence for that. Side note, James Cameron would be an awesome director for Star Wars. Um,
Hmm.
but they have that precedent set and it's successful. And as you said, there will be a consistency with it, and the actors will be under contract. So, you could film it, you know, you could film it back to back versus bringing them back every couple years. You could do it all in however long a time span, because a normal movie takes for shooting, what, 4 months probably.
Hmm.
Um, so I would say, if you film these movies back to back, you probably film 4 months, probably give the actors a month or two, a couple months off, another 4 months, couple months, 4 months off, so you could have this filmed within about 16 months total, probably 16, 18 months. So about a year and a half, probably, potentially. So, and then, you don't have to worry about, um, actors doing other projects,
Hmm.
things like that. Like there's so many different things to manage things because I firmly believe we will see an episode 10 someday. So one way or another, we'll see an episode 10. I really think that just because of the fact it's Star Wars. And to me, Star Wars will always, like, don't get me wrong, I love all these series. Like Mandalorian's amazing, Book of Boba Fett, I'm sure, is amazing, and all these other, Kenobi's gonna be amazing. But to me, Star Wars is theatrical. And to me, like Rogue One, great. Solo, a lot of fun. But Star Wars is episodic. Like that is what it was designed for. And I think we'll see like an episode 10 at some point, especially the way episode 9 ended with Rey bearing the lightsabers. Like to me, that's just them saying, "Hey guys, we're gonna have some kids or
Hmm.
someone dig these lightsabers up someday." Um, so I think it'll go in that direction. But as you said, once if we do go to an episode 10, 11, 12, then just make the film them back to back to back, and you'll be good, and that'll help the cohesiveness so much more. And then, to connect back to our conversation here about Kylo, we'll have all of these ancillary projects like books and video games and comics and Lego specials, or even in the series that comes out then. Because by the time we get another trilogy, that'll be at least probably 7 years from now. Um,
Yeah.
so if you have those, then you could have it'll help all of the projects just so much more versus spreading them out and spacing them out and making them kind of choppy, really, because it was publicly well known when JJ was finishing writing on Force Awakens, Ryan was also writing Last Jedi. So literally, how to me it's like, don't get me wrong, I mean, everyone already knows my feelings on The Last Jedi, but how is Ryan supposed to be successful if JJ's not even done with the movie he's writing the sequel for? Like to me, that's a management problem. Like that's above Ryan and JJ's pay grade. That is like the higher ups at Lucasfilm. Like that's on them. Like they should have had that cohesiveness with the directors to begin with. And however they do the next trilogy, they need to set it up in a way where it'll be more cohesive. And that's why I think like Rogue Squadron, I think there's a potential, like I said, that'll be in the Mandoverse era. And I think there's a chance the Feige movie, I really do think the Feige movie will cap the Mandoverse. Um, but I think there's a chance, that'll be like the cap of it. But again, it'll be cohesiveness because like he has experience with that type of stuff, like making things cohesive. Um, so I just think, just overall, like Star Wars' cohesiveness, it's getting
Hmm.
better. Like that's one thing. Like I can give props and credit where it's due. And Star Wars has been on an uptick with their with connecting canon and doing different things. I mean, look, last season of Mando, we get Bo-Katan in live action. Like, who would have thought we were going to get and Ahsoka? I mean, Ahsoka's even bigger. Who would have thought we were going to actually get a live action Ahsoka Tano? Like, that's wild. And then, all the other news we've covered over the past few weeks, like about Ezra and Thrawn and this character, like all these animated characters coming to live action, like that's awesome. They're finally connecting, bringing more cohesiveness. And like, again, it's back to the whole point of like they're being self aware with stuff. And it makes me really happy they're going in that direction. And I really do think though, to put a like cap on this, but I really do think that when it comes to the next bit of sequel movies, I think they'll like kind of quote unquote learn their lesson, if you know what I mean. Like, I think it will be managed well, or at least better than what it was. So, that's kind of like my thoughts on that. Like, I just think it'll be managed better, and again, it'll connect back, to wrap around to our Lego Star Wars discussion. It'll make all of these Lego projects better, because it'll make a lot of the jokes funnier. It'll make the consistency and coherence better. Like it'll, as you said, this the Kylo Ren thing. Sure, it was kind of like inconsistent with the comic. Like, sure, the Lego stuff isn't canon, but at least if you're going to kind of spoof it, make it kind of like canon, you know. So,
Mm,
like that's
yeah.
that's the big that's the big thing when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, like have some type of cohesiveness. Like it doesn't have to be to me. You're a big multi-billion-dollar company. Like it doesn't have to be 100% cohesive because everybody tells their stories a little bit differently. Like, but to me, if you can just bat like 75, 80%, like 80% of the time, if they get it right, they'll be going in a good direction. Um,
Yep. Yep.
and
Yeah. So
and that's all I ask, just 80%. And I think I think we're heading in a good direction though.
yeah, yeah, I think so as well. Great thoughts on there.
Yeah.
Didn't have anything to do with terrifying tales, but great thoughts.
Well, I
I
guess that
knew I
tells you
was
about
opening up a
terrifying
can of
tales.
worms when I started talking about filming the whole trilogy back to back. But hey, I walked myself into that one. So,
Well, if
like
we
I
if we have
said, I think we'll have a whole episode dedicated to that after just what the preview we got there. So, especially
if
if we
we
get
had
Milton involved on that, we'll really take up 2 hours.
yeah, if we had Milton on here, me and Milton would be talking for about 3 hours on that, and you'd be just sitting there. uh,
Anyway,
um,
let's go back and give our scores
yep,
out of Terrifying Tales. I'll wrap it up and I'll say,
yep,
hey, look, if you're a fan of Lego Star Wars, you're gonna enjoy this. If you like the holiday special, you're really gonna enjoy this. And yeah, well, I didn't like it as much as Lego the holiday special. It did provide us a new way of telling Star Wars stories with these kind of spooky short tales of like, word of mouth stories, like, like telephone game, things get skewed and stuff. So I like that. I liked, being after the Rise of Skywalker. I liked seeing characters from like, Freewaker Adventures, whether we don't like them or we like them. It was cool seeing them brought into the greater fold of things, seeing Vinay, seeing Vader's castle, connecting, of course, to Kevin Scott's great comics, connecting, of course, to Charles Soule's comics. Whether or not I like how they adapted them is another conversation, as we already had. So yeah, I mean, I still enjoyed this. And like I said before, probably won't watch this one again. But with that being said, I gotta give it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
yeah, that's a fair score, and those are fair points you made. For me, I would say, we can't judge this. We can't set this up to Empire Strikes Back and compare it to that. Like it's not the media. But for me, they've already set the precedent for Lego Star Wars and what they want to do with it. So to me, you should compare Terrifying Tales to the other Lego Star Wars movie, which would be the Holiday Special. And to me, the Holiday Special, is like light years ahead of this, just because all the points we mentioned before. But like this Terrifying Tales, like I thought the hut was a little annoying. I I don't know, not a huge fan of Poe being kind of the main character for it. Didn't really like that. I did enjoy the Luke what if story of how he joined the Empire. I thought that was excellent actually. The Kylo Ren story was okay. I did like the whole like ghost sequence spookiness thing to it. Like that was pretty good. Because as I said earlier, like if you're a kid, like that might kind of be spooky to you or whatever. So it fits the media, fits the time of the year. Good job there. Um, I always really like when the Lego Emperor's involved. Like he does good. Matthew Wood being Grievous was great. Um, yeah, I mean, seeing Darth Maul, I thought the voice actor for Darth Maul sounded really similar. Like I thought that was great as
Was that
well.
Sam Witwer?
See, I'm pretty sure that was Sam Witwer. Like, or if it wasn't, it sounded just like him.
I'm pretty
So,
sure that had to be him. So,
oh, okay, so yeah, so we get Sam Witwer in there. Like, those are all really good things. But overall, I thought the Terrifying Tales was okay. It wasn't great. Like to me, like the Lego Holiday Special, for example, was probably like again, we're judging Legos. This isn't like reflecting, saying this is as good as like Mando or anything. But like in terms of like the Lego universe, I guess we would say, I would say like the Holiday Special is probably a 9 out of 10 or so.
hmm
And if you're comparing Terrifying Tales to the Holiday Special, I would say Terrifying Tales is probably a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10, like you
hmm
said, just because it's a step down. There were a couple good jokes in there. Props there. They need more of those kind of meta jokes. Those always work out well, in my opinion, especially for the older audiences. But overall, it didn't flow as good as what I would liked it to be. Just because, as you mentioned earlier, Chris, like the good thing with the holiday special was I liked more of the like bouncing around the different like the parts of the galaxy or like the different eras versus just how they did it in this one. But yeah, overall I'd say it's a fine watch. Probably won't watch it again unless like I ever have kids someday or anything. Like then that'll be a good way to introduce them
You're
into
right.
Star Wars.
Yep.
But I mean, I guess that's setting the precedence for us or like for people who are in their 20s or 30s who are having kids or have or potentially may have kids eventually. Like this is good to know that Disney Plus has things out there for younger audiences as well.
hmm
If you're expecting or things like that, like, hey, I have a new niece. She's 4 months old. And when she gets, a little bit older, when she's like more aware of things like this, I could just put this on and be like, hey, check this out. Like, boom, there we go. There's her introduction into Star Wars. So, it works out for things like that. But yeah, overall, it was fine. To me, I always say, something it's a one-time watch at a minimum. Like don't just skip it in my opinion. Like watch it. Like it's October right now. Like sure, unless you're listening to this in June or something. But it's October right now. It's the Halloween season. It's the fall season. Watch this spooky little Star Wars thing. It's fun. You'll have fun with it. It's 45 minutes, and you go about your business. It's Star Wars content for the month because right now we are in a dry spell for Star Wars content, or we're in a wide open area from now until Book of Boba Fett. So it's something to watch at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna end on that note. Hey, it's
Yep.
something to watch at least. Not
That's
super super positive,
that's the
but
quote of the episode. It's something to
but
watch.
yeah, yeah, fine. We'll leave it at that. But no, seriously, everybody, it's a great thing for this time of year. Definitely, it's great to have a Star Wars holiday special and now Star Wars that's set during Halloween. So there you go. And that is going to wrap up episode number 28 of Outer Rim Transmission. For those of you that have been listening to us through your earbuds and other headphone equipment, you can also watch us live every Friday night on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/StarRaptor. We go live usually around 9 o'clock Eastern. And if you are watching us after the fact, then guess what? You can listen to us, on your drive to work, working out at the gym, just doing yard work, wherever you're doing, by simply searching us in any of your favorited podcast apps, whether that could be Spotify or Apple Music or Google Music, etc. And do go ahead and let us know how we're doing by emailing us at outerrimtransmission@gmail.com. You can also send us in questions that we will answer on future shows. And as I mentioned last episode, we do have a t-shirt store at teespring.com youtube.com/outer hyphen outer rim transmission. You could just type that in teespring.com. It's a weird kind of URL, but just search in outer rim transmission Teespring and it'll pop back up. Different color shirts, different style shirts. Go pick yourself up some merch. So that is going to do it for us here. I am at Comic Con currently as this thing goes up on YouTube. So, hey, if you're there and you see me, say hi. I have some free stuff to give out, some pins, some stickers, and whatnot. And hopefully, New York Comic Con is back to normal next year as everything else in the world. Hopefully, if we're going to remain optimistic. So you guys can catch Ben on Twitter talking about football a lot this time of year, right? On on your username over
Yep.
there.
Yep. Yeah. You can just find me at Real Ben Maynard on Twitter and Instagram. I'm pretty much just talking my life on Twitter and social media is pretty much just talking Star Wars, football, and other and TV related things, and that's pretty much it. And throwing some fitness in there as well. And you can find Milton as well on there at Milton Weber 7, and you can find Chris at Star Raptor.
There you go. So that's going to do it for us for Outer Rim Transmission number 28. Podcast out. No, it's not quite podcast out. Transmission out. There we go, everybody. It's getting late in here. Have a great evening or whatever you're listening to the show. Great outro this week. Bye-bye, everybody.